Hey there, this is Dima, and I'm Dima, and this is yet another Talk, Book, and Camera video. As always, the warning is I am creating this video for myself to practice camera presence, to practice English, because it's not my native language. So I'm not gonna edit this video, and if you will be able to extract any value from it, then great. If not, then okay, because I'm making it to become better at camera presence and English. And I am gonna create a timer or start a timer for 30 minutes because this video is a part of my current daily non-negotiables, and I set it to be for 30 minutes. And let's continue going over instructions or highlights in the book called Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And the last place, the last highlight that I was working through was the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. I would like to give this thought, this point of view, this approach a lot of time, because first of all, I don't treat questions as the first as the major citizens, as an important tool to use to achieve goals in life. So I don't treat questions like that. Questions are just questions. Like I ask them to learn something or to get the answers, to learn some information, to get some information, and that is it. But here, this thought, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. This thought makes questions one of the most important tools to influence the quality of life, which is what I want to do. I want to be able to control and change the quality of my life to the level I want. And it seems like questions are one of the major tools for that. So this brings them at a whole another level from being just questions, just casual things that I use whenever it feels like it, to one of the main instruments, one of the main tools that I use for achieving the goals I have in terms of improving the quality of my life. And probably not only that, they influence the quality of my life. So I feel like there is a little mess on my desk, and that I don't like. And I'm constantly returning to that. And I'm gonna quickly make an order here. Put things in order. Probably this is how you say it in English. Okay, so I've changed a couple of things. I arranged removed my daily light lamp. Let me close the notebook that I used to. It's in this pleasant blue color. I use this notebook for my evening, to write my evening journal. And I put that away. I'm gonna move this glass over here and maybe that glass over there. And I'm gonna close the cap of this pen the way Monica from Friends asked many times her guests. Okay, now this looks way better. The clutter, I decluttered the space in front of me. And now I am ready to continue with this book. Let me use the cover to put the iPad in a convenient position in front of me. So the quality of your questions, so the quality of my questions determines the quality of my life. And I would want, and I'm going to pull in here the thought that Jordan Peterson, I've heard, said that it's not only that I ask a question, it's that I am willing to receive an answer, an honest answer. I need to be willing to learn an answer to the question that I have. So if I'm just asking the questions for the sake of asking questions, and if I don't want to learn the answer, to know the answer, to discover new information, if I'm just doing it for the sake of doing it because somebody said that, so this probably won't bring me any value. But if I'm asking a question that I truly want to know, to learn, to know the answer to, then the likelihood of getting the answer is quite high. And this is important. So it's not only that, okay, quality, and probably this internal drive, this desire this willingness to learn the answer, this need, this openness to receive the answer is part of the quality of my questions. So it's like my question and also my own state, my own readiness for my own openness to receive the information from the world and from myself. Okay. So then later, I highlighted several questions from Tim Ferriss that he used for the 4-hour body to dig. He was using to dig up non-obvious tactics. And the questions are: who is good at sport despite being poorly built for it? Who's good at this, who shouldn't be? And he says that these questions, so the sport here can be replaced with any other field or thing. So for example, if my field is software development, who is good at software development despite being poorly built for it? Or who is good at camera presence, or who's good at English, who is good at articulating their thoughts, who's good at teaching, who's good at educating, who's good at presenting information, who's good at public speaking despite being poorly built for it. are lacking skills, or maybe not skills, but maybe talent or some initial stats. Who are the most controversial or unorthodox athletes or trainers in sport? Why? What do you think of them? So the first question, the previous question, sorry, about who is good but being poorly built for that. The value of this question probably is in that the person that is not talented for software development, for example, or for public speaking, if this person doesn't have a talent to this, but has managed to become good at a given activity or skill or profession, then this means that this person has used some tactics, approaches, tools, but I would say some approaches and tools that are so effective, that work so well, that they helped this person without any talent, natural talent for this thing, or natural abilities to achieve success in this field. And so these tools, these tactics are most likely very effective in achieving results in the sport or activity or software. So if it's software development, then to become a good software developer. If it's a public speaking, then in public speaking. That is the value I see of this question. The second question: who are the most controversial or unorthodox athletes or trainers in sport or in software development or in this or that? Why? What do you think of them? And also, these questions are Tim Ferriss asked for. He asked these questions. He addressed these questions to professionals in those fields, in that field, so in sport. So to experts. He asked those questions to experts. And so this second question, the way I see it, the benefit of the second question is that to find the most daring, the people who are willing to be different, and then to use different approaches, to use different tools. Some of them, or most of them, are probably not effective, not worth the time, but some can be diamonds in the rough, or just diamonds. Question number 3 is: who are the most impressive lesser known teachers? And this question is the most impressive lesser known teachers. This question means, I can see that, what people are what are the give me with help of this question, I think I could found the experts that are underpriced, but they have a lot of value. Question number 4. What makes you different? Who trained you or influenced you? Who trained you or influenced you? What makes you different? This is interesting. What makes you different? This is a question that I feel like I'm avoiding thinking about this question, discovering the information for some reason. It's almost as if I don't want to be different, to be different from others, to be noticeable, to acknowledge the qualities that make me stand out, and that sort of stuff, to make me stand out. Who trained you or influenced you? In software development, I used books. I've used books to learn the craft. Okay. Question number 5. Have you trained others to do this? Have you trained others to do this? Have they replicated your results? This is great. But this question is more, I wanted to say it's more applicable to the situation when you're writing a book and you want to have that and replicate the results, or if you're creating an online course or something like that. But I think that it is a good question to ask a person that I would like to learn from. So for example, if I want to learn public speaking, the question is, have you trained others to do this? Have they replicated your results? This means that the person the teacher has not only been successful in achieving success in his field, but also discovered how to teach other people achieving the results. The next question is, what are the biggest mistakes and myths you see in sports, in sport training? What are the biggest wastes of time? This is one of the most, this question I see is very valuable. So out of these previous questions, what I like is what makes you different question. It seems like asking this question, what makes me different? What makes me different? What qualities I have that others don't? It can provide me valuable results. So this question resonates with me. And also, what are the biggest mistakes and myths you see in sport training? What are the biggest wastes of time? And this is a very important question, because first of all, I can ask experts about this, but also I can ask myself. I could ask ChatGPT this question. I can ask this question and get the results. What are the biggest mistakes and myths you see in sport training? What are the biggest wastes of time? And honestly, right now, I can think of what are the biggest mistakes in learning English or in learning how to record yourself on the camera and or learning how to create online educational content. What are the biggest mistakes that you can tell? And I'm constantly, I'd love to ask this question to ChatGPT, because it aggregates a lot. Like, so it feels like it aggregates, it uses the vast, huge amounts of information to answer this, and many sources. What are your favorite instructional books or resources on that subject? If people had to teach themselves, what would you suggest they use? I can ask this question, ChatGPT. Why should I ask? Why not to? Why not to ask this question? I am so curious to ask it. This is gold. What are your favorite instructional books or resources on that subject? If people had to teach themselves, what would you suggest they use? If you were to train me for 12 weeks for a competition and had $1 million on the line, what would the training look like? And I remember that he asked a similar question to a person that was one of the stand-up comedians that he had podcast with. And she answered this question something like, and the question was, if you were to train a person to live perform in 12 weeks or in 8 weeks, what would you ask them to do? And the answer was, she answered that she would make this person go on the stage, or ask this person to go on the stage at night 1. So every day she would encourage or make this person to go on the stage and perform. Not learn, not anything else, but this, go on the stage and perform. That's like this. In the case of basketball, he added 4 more to the above. The following questions were emailed to Rick Torbett, the founder of Better Basketball. So let's see. Question number 1. What are the biggest mistakes novices make when shooting or practicing shooting? What are the biggest misuses of time? Okay, we've got that. What are the biggest wastes of time? Before that, what mistakes are most common even at the pro level? Great. What are your key principles for better, more consistent shooting What are they for foul shots versus 3-pointers? What are your key principles for better, more consistent shooting? I like this question, what mistakes are most common even at the pro level, because then we can see those. And I really can ask ChatGPT to give me those in terms of software development, in terms of content creation, in terms of educational content, in terms of teaching people how to become a software developer and so on. So like that, what does the progression of exercises look like? I really like these questions. They seem to be quite hard, and when I play with them internally, so when I try to think about the question, what does the progression of exercises look like, I constantly notice the resistance. So it's just like, whoa. But here is a guess. Maybe my resistance comes from the place of unknown. Maybe it's that, what does the progression of exercises look like? And when I ask this question, first what happens is that I don't have a ready answer. So I feel confused, I feel lost, I feel like, oh, I don't have a ready answer. So I need to probably think. I need to try to discover this. Okay, so how would I view the progression of exercises, or how would I view the progression in this area, or how would I view this or that? And Tim says, I received his email responses and 2 days later hit 9 out of 10 free throws for the first time in my life. Then on Christmas Eve, I went bowling and realized that many of the basketball principles determining eye dominance to move your vertical center line applied to the lane too. I scored 124 my first time over 100, and an Everest above my usual 50 to 70. Upon returning home, I immediately went outside and sank the first 2 3-pointers in my life. That's a hell of a lot of fun. That's a hell of a lot of fun. It all starts with good questions. I like this. So he said that he asked good questions to the right person, and that right person provided him the answers. And then Tim applied those answers to and received results. What a great deal, I would say. Peter Atia. So let's see, Adore check lateral. Harbinger propensity. So there are the next quote is, if you are over 40 and don't smoke, okay, there is about a 70 to 80% chance you'll die from one of 4 diseases: heart disease, cerebrovascular disease, cancer, or neurodegenerative disease. These are really 2 pieces to longevity. The first is delaying death as long as possible by delaying the onset of chronic disease, big 4 above. We call that the defensive play. The second is enhancing life, the offensive play. On that defensive play, there are basically 4 diseases that are going to kill you. In other words, if you're blah, 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 and you care about this, you're probably not going to die in a car accident or homicide because you're out of that demographic. You're less likely to die of X, Y, and Z. It turns out that, okay, if you remember nothing else, remember this. If you're in your 40s or beyond, you care about living longer, which immediately puts you in a selection bias category, there is an 80% chance you're going to die of one of those 4 diseases. So any strategy toward increasing longevity has to be geared toward reducing the risk of those diseases as much as humanly possible. For those who don't know, cerebellar vascular disease would be stroke, and there are 2 ways you can have a stroke. One is through an occlusion, the other one is through bleeding, usually due to elevated blood pressure, and things like that. Okay. Studies suggest to me that there is something about highly refined carbohydrates and sugars and potentially protein, though it might be for a different reason, that seems to raise insulin, which we know by extension raises, and we know that okay, so I would really love to live as long as possible, and maybe if it will become available to extend my lifespan indefinitely, so for as long as I would like to, but to live as long as possible with the highest quality of life that is possible, that would be great. And so remembering that and having this information, like if I'm over 40, which I am getting closer to, I'm 34 right now, so I got 6 years left. So this is a good thing to do. And that's it for today's